Here's 14 Spider-Man customs from my collection. How's it going, everybody? I'm back with another video. This time, I just want to show you guys 14 customs from my Spider-Man collection. These are all custom Spider-Man figures in varying degrees of like full customs to just head swaps. So let's go over them. Started with one of the easiest ones I've ever done. This is just a Carnage with a Cletus Cassidy head sculpt. I had this head sculpt floating around and I found this extra body, so I just threw it on there. Next, we have probably one of the most slept on Spider-Man figures. This is the Last Stand Spider-Man. I just swapped the head over with a 3D print. You can see right there, though, the 3D print like exploded on me. I guess that's what happens if you don't put holes in your prints, but I do have a spare, so I'll be painting it up pretty soon. This is the same Carnage as the Cletus Cassidy head sculpt. This one just has a red paint job and some different hands. I believe these hands are from the Carnage that came in the Monster Venom wave, and you can see the differences in the paint. I just put some Tamiya clear red all over this guy just to make him pop a little more. Another simple head swap. This is the Retro Car Spider-Man. I just put a PS4 Spider-Man head on it just to make it a little bit different than the rest. Now we have Shocker. At the time, everyone was filling in the lines on this guy. People were using brown panel liner, but I decided to be a big brain and use black. But not only did I use black, but I used a Tamiya panel liner, and that stuff made a complete mess on this figure. You can see I have black spots that just won't go away. I kind of ruined it if you ask me. Some people really like it, but I feel like I messed it up because I've seen better ones. Now we have Green Goblin. This one is a pretty simple custom if you know what you're doing. All I did was take the paint off the eyes, and I switched the eyes for some more menacing looking ones. If you remember what this guy looked like when he came out, he had some googly looking eyes. I just wanted to swap that out and make him look a little more scary. Also printed this guy a glider just so he can have a different look versus the glider we get with Hasbro. It's the same one they always give us. For anything like me and you fell in love with that first Spider-Man game, one of my favorite armors to use was the Spider Armor. So when Hasbro announced this, it was an immediate pre-order for me. The only thing I didn't like was the color, so I went in and repainted this guy with some metallic blue and some metallic red. You can see the difference there. The blue they used was like that light blue. I put a darker blue over the top just to make it pop more and just to make it look a little more like armor. And I painted everything but the helmet. I didn't want to paint the helmet because it was too smooth and I didn't want to mess it up. Next, we have the Monster Venom. This is not the BAF. This is the single release. I didn't like that dumb derpy head it came with, so I 3D printed a better head in my opinion. This is a 3D printed head I printed and painted myself. I think I did a pretty damn good job. Now we're going to get into the more technical customs I did. Starting with this Ben Reilly. This is the googly eyes Ben Reilly, the one that came with that big old animated looking head. I saw One Oak Customs on Instagram did a repaint on his and some swaps, so I wanted to follow suit and do the same thing. This is based on a more recent comic of Ben Reilly, so his suit looks a little bit different than the normal Ben Reilly you're used to. The figure out of the box looks a little bit different than what you see here. One Oak Customs followed the comic design. He added the paint on the biceps and the triceps, and also the triangle on the boot. None of this comes on the figure stock. I also swapped the head from that big googly eye head to this House of M Spider-Man head, and I think this one looks a lot better. It captures the look of the figure a lot better. This is Spider Carnage, and this is a custom I did a long time ago, but I wanted to revamp it on a new body. I used a new Ben Reilly body because it had butterfly joints and just better overall proportions, and it looks a lot more like he did in the cartoon versus the one I did before. All I did was add the Carnage lines over, and that was just hot glue with red paint on top. The head and hands are just swapped over from that first one. If you don't know or weren't collecting back then, Marvel Legends released a Spider Carnage. It was in the Absorbing Man wave, and it was Ben Reilly, but just the head and hands of Carnage, and it didn't really look all that good to me. Now we have one of my favorite Spider-Mans, Miles Morales. This is the Gamerverse version. There's a few mods you can do to this guy to make him look a little bit better, which is what I did. I followed Crafty Gecko's recipe. He pretty much just gave more range to the butterflies, the hips, and he put different feet on there. Shout out to Crafty Gecko for sending these over. This one is not as involved as the others, but it's still a full custom because I did a lot to this figure. Second to last is going to be Movie Venom. I wanted this guy to have the logo of regular Venom like he should have, and I also fully repainted it. This guy has a black semi-gloss coat over the entire figure. I swapped the head, I painted the back of the hands, and I also swapped the feet. A lot of people were telling me these feet were too small for this body, but I disagree. I think it looks very in proportion. And I don't like the toes on the feet. That shit is ugly to me. It's the same head I used for my Monster Venom bath, just painted a little bit differently. This one has a gloss coat on top just to make it pop just like the body. Most technical part of this custom was the logo. It took me entirely too long to paint this logo. I was actually going to commission someone to do it, and I had to sit down and tell myself, I'm a customizer, I can do it. I sat down and did it. It took me literally a week just to do this because I kept painting parts of it and messing up, and I had to put it down and come back to it at least once a day. Overall, though, I think the logo came out really nice. I like what I did. It's not perfect. It's not the best, but at the end of it, I really had a lot of fun doing it. Last, but certainly not least, this is the Venomized Miles figure. This is probably the most technical Spider-Man custom I've ever done. Hasbro released the Marvel Legends, like, Venomized figures, a couple of them. They released him, and they released Ghost Spider, and they released a Cap. There's a picture of this guy and how he's supposed to look, and then there's the way that Hasbro did it. And Hasbro, while they did a good job, I would have liked more from it. So I went in and sculpted the logo on the chest and the back. I added tendrils coming off like the logo was coming alive. Also added tendrils and sculpt on the biceps to make it look like the symbiote's coming alive. I kept the Venomized Miles arm. I put a regular Miles arm here with the hands. I think that's just a Spider-Man arm I painted black, actually. I did repaint the purple for a deeper, like, more candy look to it. I also added sculpt and tendrils to the legs to make it, again, look like the symbiote was coming alive. And I think I did a pretty damn good job. I like how this came out. This is one of my favorite Miles customs I've ever done. So those are my 14 Spider-Man customs from my collection, from the least involved to the most involved. I had a lot of fun making these, and whenever I get an opportunity to make a Spider-Man custom, I take full advantage. Try to do it to the best of my ability. But go ahead and like, go ahead and subscribe if you're not. I know a lot of y'all aren't. Hopefully this one is the one that gets you to hit that button. Leave a comment, and I'm out.